This is what happens after you rest. Get ready for a shock next week. Say that to yourself once. Let the sentence sit. Between May 3 and May 9th, something small and precise will begin to rearrange inside you. Not a spectacle, not fireworks. A quiet rearrangement that, for many people, looks like a shock. Clarity where there was fog. A release where there was a knot. A rerouting where you thought you were stuck. If you rest now, the next week will reveal what the rest was really for. You might be thinking the word shock sounds dramatic. Good. This shock isn't punishment or chaos. It's the honest moment when the consequences of giving too much and receiving too little show up in a new light. It's the moment when the quiet you've allowed finally has enough room to speak. Between May 3 and May 9th, call it a spiritual stretch zone, what you bring into that week gets amplified. Rest that week is not a lapse. It's active completion. It finishes whatever growth has been waiting at the edges. If this is landing with you at all, drop one word in the comments right now about what you're ready to release. That single word is a small commitment. It's a way to tell yourself you notice the tension and you're willing to try something different. You've been carrying invisible weight for longer than you admit. It's not always dramatic. Often it's a slow accumulation. Promises kept to others that weren't kept to you. Small compromises that piled up. The habit of proving your worth through productivity. Call it spiritual debt, the sense that you've given more than you've been allowed to receive. It's the tiredness that persists even after a vacation. The lingering tightness in your chest on Monday mornings. The whisper that you should be farther along. Those are not signs that you're failing. They're signals that something in you has been holding things for so long they've calcified into identity. Rest loosens that calcification. Rest is not the opposite of growth. Rest is the final phase of growth. The part where you stop pushing and let the transformation finish itself. You might rest and notice something odd. Sudden relief. A surprising emptiness. A lack of appetite for projects that once excited you. Those reactions are not derailments, they are the clearing. Imagine a garden that has been crowded for seasons. You pull back, you stop planning for a moment, and the soil reveals roots needing cutting, paths wanting to be opened. That emptiness is the space for new arrangement. There are two absolute don'ts for this week. Hold them like rules of the road. First, don't turn on yourself. When the fog thins, you might panic and decide the only fix is brute force. More planning, more proving, self-criticism. The temptation will be to interpret the quiet as a problem you caused and to attack yourself for wasting time. That reaction will shutter the opening you just created. So be gentle. If you catch your inner voice sharpening, name it. Say aloud, I will not punish myself for needing a pause. Remind yourself you are not failing by feeling different. You are changing. Self-attack here creates hesitation. Hesitation now means missing subtle openings that won't shout. They'll whisper. Second, don't overload your nervous system. This week tends to make intuition softer. When your attention is fragmented, notifications, multitasking, late-night scrolling, you drown out what wants to be heard. There will be a soft intelligence trying to make itself known. Overstimulation will mute it. Simple moves. Turn off non-essential notifications. Shorten time on social feeds. Let calls go to voicemail until mid-afternoon. If you would normally respond instantly to a message, try a rule of 3 breaths before answering. Small reductions in noise give your inner sense of direction a chance to speak. People assume signs from weeks like this are dramatic. They're usually subtle. You might wake up with a strange sense of relief that something has ended. Or you might find your morning rituals feel hollow. What used to fuel you now feels like going through motions. Maybe you notice a drop in appetite for a goal you once chased. Your heart doesn't lift for it anymore. Maybe you feel exhausted that rest seems to feed, not cure. None of these are failures. They are signals pointing. This belongs in your past. This could belong in your future. And here is a fork. Think of May 4 and May 9 as metaphors, not laws. On May 4th, imagine a mentor stepping back. This is the apogee as a symbol. Emotional gravity loosens. The thing that has been pulling you tight becomes less intense, and you finally have room to move without being dragged. On May 9th, picture the last quarter as a clearing bell, a practical recalibration where life shows you what's attached to you by habit versus what is truly yours to carry. These lunar markers are useful as timing anchors. They highlight natural rhythms many people feel, but they don't decide your fate. Use them like a gentle calendar reminder to pay attention. Here's what this week can do. By giving yourself genuine rest now, between May 3 and May 9th, you create a field where small choices lay out clear paths. I call this a fork week. Every small decision, what email to answer, whether to say yes to a meeting, whether to cancel a plan, whether to sleep an extra hour, creates versions of you. Take one choice differently, and the next step shifts. The shock next week is often just the visible ripple of those small choices. You thought nothing would change, but the fabric has loosened enough to show seams. Let me tell you what that might look like in practice. Imagine two people who both take a day of rest. One insists on checking work email every hour, multitasks, and fills the day with low-level distractions. The other puts away the laptop, drinks tea without a screen, takes 3 long walks, sits with a journal for 10 minutes in the evening. The first returns to routine with the same load, but slightly more exhausted because nothing actually shifted. The second has made room for the next movement. Which one is more likely to get a surprise next week? The one who stopped feeding the old patterns. The shock is not a lottery. It's the natural consequence of the space you create. So what to watch for? Watch for 3 subtle signals. 1. A soft disinterest. Tasks that used to thrill you feel flat. That is not laziness, it's a redirect light flashing. Ask, if I let this go, what else would I try? 2. Slow mornings. Mornings that drag. Mornings where your first impulse is to not do anything at all. Honor them. Let them be laboratory time, an observation period where you see what wants to form without pressure. 3. Low capacity for noise. You find crowds, feeds, and constant talk exhausting. That's your nervous system asking for fewer inputs, not for quick fixes. Respond accordingly. When those signs show up, don't rush to conclusions. Instead, practice tiny, practical responses that respect the movement. Here are specific, accessible actions you can take immediately, designed to prepare you for the coming clarity. First, a 24-hour micro-experiment. Pick a day in the next week, ideally between May 3 and May 9th. Commit to 3 rules for that day. Reduce notifications to essential only, avoid social media browsing, and pause before responding to any non-urgent message with 3 breaths. Make a short evening note. 3 lines about what felt quieter, 1 thing that surprised you about how you use time, and 1 thing that felt smaller than before. That's it. This controlled slowdown will give you a simple data point. You don't need answers yet, you need information. Second, a slow morning ritual you can use immediately. On at least 3 mornings this week, do this. Wake, sit up, stretch lightly, make a warm drink if you like, then turn your device face down for 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, notice your body. Ask quietly, what feels different today? And write 1 sentence, no more, in a notebook. No scrolling, no planning, just noticing. The discipline is small, but it creates a habit of listening during the hour your system spends reconciling sleep with wakefulness. Often the clearest nudges come in that gentle window. Third, a simple journaling prompt for the week. What no longer excites me, and what would I be free to pursue if I let it go? Set a timer for 8 minutes. Don't edit. Stream sentences for that period. Afterwards, underline the line that feels like it was waiting to be discovered. That underlined line is an early breadcrumb pointing where the shock might lead. Fourth, slow down your responses. When your phone chimes, count to 3 before replying. Make a small rule. If a decision doesn't require action in the next 2 hours, write it in a maybe list instead of answering now. Small delays create a margin where intuition can speak. Fifth, a nightly closure practice. For 5 minutes before bed, list 3 things you stopped doing today. Notice how that list may be longer or shorter than you thought. Praise the stopping. Rest is not only what you begin to do, it's what you allow to stop. If you want 1 immediate micro-action to try right after hearing this, take 1 minute now. Put your hand over your heart. Breathe in for 4 counts, out for 6, and say to yourself, I will allow space for what wants to come. Write one word on a sticky note, one thing you're ready to release, and place it where you will see it tomorrow morning. This quick ritual primes your system to notice shifts. It helps to have concrete examples of the forks you might face. Imagine an offer arrives next week, a volunteer project, a new job possibility, a partnership. Your habitual reflex might be to say yes because you think you should, or because you're avoiding the awkwardness of decline. But in a fork week, your honest first reaction matters more than usual. A small "not now" can reroute a year of energy. On the other hand, a small yes aligned with your new inclination can open a space you've been unconsciously preparing for. The reveal will show which direction feels lighter and less like rescue, and more like a natural next step. You might worry that letting go equals losing momentum. That's a common fear. The truth is, rest tends to reallocate momentum. It moves energy from motion that proves something to motion that creates something. When you stop forcing, the right things have a chance to finish themselves. If you're worried about timing, remember, May 3 to 9 is compact. Use it as a focused rehearsal for how you'll handle future forks. The shock that arrives will teach you where your boundaries should be, and it will often be kinder than your worst imaginings. Now, a small toolkit for limiting overstimulation without drama. Notifications. Choose 3 apps that truly need immediate alerts. Mute the rest for the week. Put social apps in a folder titled Later. Messages. Create an auto-reply for non-urgent threads that says simply, "I'm slowing down this week. Back soon." This is not avoidance. It's a boundary that preserves your nervous system. Meetings. Look at your calendar and block 2 slow slots each day, 30 to 60 minutes, where you do nothing related to work. Don't schedule tasks. Schedule presence. Meals and movement. Eat slower. Take brief walks without audio. Notice how food and air interact with mood. Movement without performance calms the nervous system in ways that preparation alone cannot. Sleep. Prioritize wind down over late-night productivity. If your mind races, write down 2 thoughts and then close the notebook. Create the ritual of transfer. As the week progresses, pay attention to the stories you tell yourself. Most people in a stretch zone start narrating catastrophes or explanations that demand immediate fixes. When you notice that storyline, try a reframe. This narrative is trying to make sense quickly. I will withhold a final verdict until after rest. Language shapes action. Give yourself permission to be provisional. The climax of this period, what I'm calling the shock, often looks like a reveal. You'll notice where energy leaks. You'll see patterns you've been normalizing. You'll find a courage to say no, where you were always saying yes, or you might discover an old part of you quietly slipping into place, a purpose that had been muffled by constant motion. The shock is clarifying. It's the moment the momentum you've been carrying meets a new contour and responds. If the change feels abrupt, remember the rest was the preparation. What looks sudden is usually the cumulative effect of your quiet work. You have been building toward this through small pauses, micro-decisions, and tiny acts of withholding. It's not magic. It's not cosmic decree. It's the physics of attention. What you stop amplifying loses its power, and what you begin to listen to gains it. There will be fear. There will also be relief. Both can coexist. Let fear be a teacher, not a governor. Ask it, what is making you loud right now? Then answer with a small practical step. Delete 1 app from your home screen, reschedule 1 meeting, sleep an extra half hour. These are not symbolic gestures. They are tactical moves that honor the inner rearrangement. Some logistical notes to keep this simple. If you do the 24-hour micro-experiment, plan it on a day when you can actually be slightly less available to others. Tell one close person you're doing it, so they understand if you're slow to respond. For the slow morning ritual, put your notebook beside your bed tonight so you have no excuse in the morning. For the journaling prompt, set a timer and commit to raw honesty. It's not aesthetic writing, it's ordinance to your own clarity. Before we close, imagine a coastline at low tide. The sea pulls back and shows features that were previously hidden: shells, rock pools, different levels of sand. You didn't make the tide, but by standing there and watching, you gain knowledge about what the shore contains. Rest is your low tide. The shock next week is not the ocean pushing you, it's what the exposure reveals. You now have the chance to choose routes across this newly visible shore that match your actual desires, not the ones you were trained to pursue. One last practical tool. A phrase you can say to yourself when doubt starts to rush in. Repeat this out loud or in your head whenever you feel pressure. I will allow space for what wants to come. Short, firm, non-judgmental. Use it when you are tempted to fix the feeling of emptiness by rushing into action. It creates a gentle pause where the next right step can appear. You may wonder, what if nothing seems different next week? That's okay. Not everyone will experience a dramatic pivot. Some people will feel steadier, more patient, or will discover that rest simply made the next step clearer rather than changed everything overnight. Both outcomes are valid. What matters is the integrity of the experiment. You created margin, you listened, and you learned. Those habits compound. As we end, remember the dates, May 3rd through May 9th. Treat them as a focused window to practice rest intentionally. Give yourself permission to try the 24-hour micro-experiment, to use the slow morning ritual, to write honestly about what no longer excites you. Watch for the soft signals of disinterest, slow mornings, and reduced tolerance for noise. When those signals arrive, respond with kindness, not speed. Don't attack yourself. Don't overload your nervous system. Make small choices that favor margin. That is how the shock next week becomes a revelation, not a derailment. If this message landed with you, and you want a simple, guided way to walk through the week, download the 3-day Rest to Reveal guide in the description below. It's a short PDF with the micro-experiment layout, the slow morning ritual, and 3 journaling prompts designed for this May 3 to 9 window. Use it as a map. Adapt it as you need. The guide is practical and plain. No mysticism, no promises, just a structure to help you notice what rest reveals. You didn't arrive at this moment by accident. The timing might be perfect. The shock next week may only be a small clearing at first, but small clearings chart new paths. Trust the slowness. Honor the signals. Let the space you make now be the field where your next version of life begins to assemble itself.